Today we're joined by two MPPs, MPP Grewal and MPP Sandhu. So I have the first question is for you, Mr. Grewal. What are your thoughts on transit in Brampton and the Hazel McCallion line, and how will it proceed in the next few years?
Thank you very much for the question. First of all, it's great to be here on your podcast. It's great to see young individuals going out there talking politics and seeing what's happening in their community. Today we just ran into each other at Tim Hortons, but that's how you know we're all connected. We saw each other and it's like this is a great time to talk about Brampton's future. When we talk about the transit opportunities in Brampton, our government has always been investing in transit across the province, but specifically for Brampton, last week we announced a new LRT for downtown Brampton that's going to be an underground LRT, like a mini subway, and what it's going to do, it's going to connect us to Mississauga and connect us to the GO station and also give Brampton downtown the opportunity to grow and build new condos just like we see in Mississauga with that increased transit connectivity. We also introduced a new transit hub that's going to be built on Highway 50. That's going to be a game changer for Bramptonians. It's going to be a EV battery powered buses that are going to be repaired and sent out from that particular location, increasing transit opportunities in Brampton East. We also invested a lot into our Brampton Rapid Transit on Highway 7, connecting us to York University, and we're going to continue to invest in transit. Even the new highway that we're building, Highway 413, it's going to have dedicated bus lanes for transit to get along Brampton faster. So not only are we building a highway infrastructure for the future, we're making sure we build integrated transit, and that also applies to our One Fare program, which saves commuters up to $1,600 every year. It means that you can now take a bus from Brampton and go down to Union Station with one fare, and you don't have to pay multiple fares, saving a lot of students and a lot of people working in Toronto a good chunk of money. And that's what we're all about, is connecting people and saving commuters time and money.
And how long will this actually take? So how long will building this transit in Brampton take? Because obviously there's the date that we usually get, and then there's the date where it's built. So when will it be built? Because with a lot of recent projects, we haven't actually gotten accurate dates, or when they come out with updates. I think it was a Metrolink CEO who said, please don't tell me, or please don't ask me when it's going to be done. So when can Bramptonians and really Ontarians expect all of this to get done?
Absolutely, that's a very important question. So when we talk about the downtown LRT, we just announced it last week. And if the people of Brampton decide to re-elect us as your MPPs, we're going to move forward on the procurement process on that particular project, and then we'll be able to talk about timelines. But for the projects that are already currently in motion, we did the groundbreaking ceremony, MPP Sandhu and I, for the Brampton East bus terminal project, and that's construction is going to be starting this summer on that. We're going to be starting construction on Highway 413 this summer as well. We're starting construction on Brampton Second Hospital also in March, and then we're moving forward with our new medical school that's opening this September. So all of the projects that we've been announcing for Brampton, we've been working hard to make sure there's a normal timeline. There is a difference though when we take a look at some of the projects that are in Toronto that were issued by the previous Liberal government. We have seen challenges in opening those due to bad contracts and issues that have come from those particular contracts that they signed. But all of the projects that have been signed under Premier Ford's leadership and our Minister of Transportation, Pravmeet Sarkaria, those are on track. They're moving on time. And we have a new head of Metrolinx as well to make sure we continue delivery time, because that's important. Not only is it important delivering for people today, like we talked about the One Fare program, it's important that we deliver on time for people in the future as well.
Thank you. And MPP Sandhu, how have you seen working together with your colleagues to better deliver for constituents in Brampton? So how have you been able to connect with other MPPs, and how have you been able to turn that into actionable results for the residents of Brampton?
No, thank you for the question. And first of all, I appreciate you guys doing this. And, it's always great to see our youth get involved in politics and get to know more about politics. So to your question, we have always worked as a team. Myself, MPP Grewal, MPP Sarkaria, Graham, Shermaine Williams. So all the investments we brought in Brampton is the result of working together. Whether it's bringing a new hospital for Brampton, which community was demanding from many years, whether it's delivering a medical school, where we will have our local doctors and physicians that will go to that medical school, which is already under construction and set to open in September this year. Whether MPP Grewal mentioned LRT, which is already under construction, and we're further expanding it to downtown Brampton, whether it's building long-term care homes, Highway 413, One Fare program. So it's a result of that collaboration. And one thing is that, Brampton, there was a perception in people's mind that Brampton is ignored by politicians. But under the leadership of Doug Ford and our local MPPs, we have delivered so much for Brampton. All the investments I have highlighted, it's a result of that collaboration of working together.
And speaking about working together, so Mr. Ford's government obviously had about 2 more years left. So what's your reaction to him calling the election early?
That's a good question. We had not 2 years, but I think a little over a year, around 14, 15 months. So it is the result of, the threats we're getting from south of the border, from President Trump, the devastating tariffs he's imposing on Canada. So Premier Doug Ford and we believe that we need a strong, stable government for next 4 years, which can negotiate with President Trump when it comes to tariffs or any other future threats from south of the border. So we need a strong, stable government. We need to match year to year with President Trump's term. So that is why we're doing this early election. And also, as I said, that this is the government that has been delivering for Brampton and across Ontario. And people, Doug Ford has proven himself again and again, whether it was during COVID, that is a strong leader. And now whether it's tackling tariffs and other threats from President Trump, he has emerged as a strong leader who can tackle and who can, give a better response to President Trump when it comes to threats, tariff threats or any other threats. Yeah.
And MPP Grewal, should this not be the time where the Premier should be in the Premier's office and be negotiating with the Trump administration instead of having an election? Because he does have a mandate, and he has that mandate to work for Ontarians. So should he not be negotiating now? Because if tariffs are coming by the end of February, or God knows what Donald Trump will do next, so should Mr. Ford not be currently working with the Trump, or to work with the other premiers to actually deliver for Ontario and be negotiating right now?
Absolutely. He is every single day. When we talk about protecting Ontario, he's there in and out, working over 18 hours a day to make sure that we protect Ontario. He is still the Premier of Ontario until the election day comes and people are able to make their decision and if they want him back in office or not. But when we take a look at protecting our economy, he's on the U.S. news networks almost every other day talking about the trade relationship that we have with Ontario. He was the first to enact border security policies across Canada right here in Ontario. He was the first to get out there and send advertisements promoting Ontario and talking about the great friendship relationship that we have with the United States. We're the number 1 trading partner to 14 different states. We're the number 2 trading partner to almost 15 different states in the United States of America. And we talk about that. We're talking about exporting electricity, our manufactured goods, automotive parts, and we talk about moving critical minerals across the border. That is a huge player for the American people, and that's just Ontario. And he's the chairman of the Federation of Premiers across Canada, and we talk about Canadian exports. We supply 60% of their crude oil. So Canada and Ontario have a huge export and import to the United States. It's almost a $600 to $800 billion trade relationship. We want to make sure that keeps going. But when these tariffs become a threat, we're risking almost 450,000 jobs in Ontario. We want to make sure that we protect those jobs. We want to make sure that we put economic policies in place that protect Ontario workers, that protect our manufacturers. And Premier Ford is doing just that. When the Americans put in retaliatory tariffs on us, we're pushing back by doing the same, because not only is he going to hurt the Ontario economy, we need to make sure the Americans feel it as well. Auto manufacturing parts cross the border over 7 times, which means cars that are being manufactured here in Ontario being sent over to Ontario, or even parts, because we do a lot of middleman work, meaning that a lot of the parts are made here, then sent to their assembly lines to assemble and finish that product. Americans will also see an increase of 25% in their purchasing of goods that are being dealt with in Ontario. And another thing that we've seen is Ontario's created more jobs than all U.S. states combined in the last few years. And President Trump sees that. President Trump sees how Ontario is thriving, attracting new investments, billions and billions of dollars from auto manufacturers. He wants to take that away from us. We're not going to let him do that. We're going to make sure these investments stay in Ontario, and we continue to build our relationship with the United States and diversify our trade relationships as well to other partners across the world. And you've seen it firsthand. Doug Ford's been at the front and center of this conversation of tariffs and retaliations. We've seen it by turning off the conversation we've we've had by turning off electricity to the United States, which we'll never do, by the way. We want to maintain a healthy relationship. We want to sell more electricity to them, and that just comes by explaining all of the goods and services that we have to offer. So that's why we've been running a multi-million-dollar ad campaign in the United States, in our number one trading partnered states, to make sure they realize where all of their products come from and how Ontario contributes to their economy.
And MPP Sandhu, I just want to go to you really quickly. The election is costing Ontarians $190 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that could go into infrastructure, into schools, into countless other projects. Why is this the best place to put that money?
That's a very good question. I understand there's some frustration from the people that the government is spending $180 million in the election. So, the fact is that this money will be circulated back in the economy. This is creating thousands of jobs with elections in Ontario, supporting our local businesses. And this money would have been spent regardless next year. So because, we need a strong, stable government. It is about protecting our jobs. It is about protecting our workers, our economy. And to your question, this money is being circulated in the economy, creating jobs and supporting our local businesses.
And so you obviously got into politics very young, right? And I guess I'm asking you, how are you finding this campaign? How is it different from the last one? Obviously, it's a lot colder than the last one, but how are you finding this campaign trail?
Yeah, obviously it's cold for everybody, our volunteers, the guys that are putting up signs, and but the thing here is, the reason we're in this election is to protect the economy. The threats we're facing from across the border are unprecedented. We've never heard of this before, and we need to make sure that we continue to thrive as a province, that our manufacturing jobs continue to grow, and we don't feel the impacts as hard as they can be. Like, the risk of losing 450,000 jobs is massive. That's why we're calling this emergency election, to put a mandate in front of the people of Ontario that we need to be able to have the same negotiating power. And that conversation goes to when Prime Minister Trudeau went down to speak with President Donald Trump. President Donald Trump knew that he's not in office for too much longer. So he negotiated in that sense and kind of sent them back saying, we'll figure out what we want to do and we'll talk to you, maybe the next guy that's going to be in charge. We don't want that to happen to Ontario. We want a strong, stable relationship where the U.S. government knows that the Ontario government is stable. They're going to be around for 4 years. The next federal election is going to happen. They're going to be around for 4 years. And you'll have the same players at the table negotiating and hammering out a deal, knowing that nobody's going anywhere. And so we can make a strong, stable plan. And that's why this election is so important. It's not about the next 4 years. It's about the next 10 to 20 years of Ontario's auto manufacturing jobs. We worked hard to save the Stellantis facility in Brampton, bring in new investments from Magna. We want to see those investments stay, as well as the investments at Abate and Windsor manufacturing plants. That's what it is. Protecting Ontario jobs, protecting Canadian jobs. That's what this election is about. And if those tariffs do come into play, we're going to have to spend billions of dollars to combat that. And that's what Premier Ford is saying. We need your support once again to keep Ontario moving. And that's why we're coming back to you, because we made a plan to balance. Our plan was to balance the Ontario's budget next year. But with these new threats across the border, that might not happen. And we want the mandate from the people of Ontario to allow us to spend billions of dollars to make sure that we protect our economy and protect those good paying jobs.
But then how would spending billions more be able to balance the budget? Because if you're trying to balance the budget, and with like the Ford government before as well, I think it was one of the largest spending packages ever announced. The budget was one of the largest. So how can you commit to balancing the budget when you're spending more than any other government has spent before?
That's a great question. Our goal was always to balance the budget while, making investments responsibly. But right now we're in a different situation, right? When we're getting threats from across the border, we need to make sure that we protect our jobs. We need to protect our economy, our workers, and that is why we have promised that we'll be spending $22 billion additional, over $200 billion in infrastructure, whether it's building the projects like Highway 413, building projects like hospitals, transit. So the government is leaving no stone unturned when it comes to investing in infrastructure, because when you're in this kind of situation, economic uncertainty, you need to make investments, you need to protect our jobs, and you need to protect our workers. And as I said, that our goal is to balance the budget in a responsible way, but also make these investments and spendings in a responsible way.
Thank you. Thank you
so much.